Televiziunea Română, întâlnirile JTI și Fundația Art Production vă recomandă Garantat 100%.
Salutare! Bine v-am regăsit la Garantat 100%. Începem sezonul de toamnă, în al 23-lea an de existență acestei emisiuni, cu o invitată pe care noi ne-am visat-o aici la emisiune. Suntem norocoși, suntem privilegiați să-i spunem bun venit la Garantat 100% în deschiderea acestui sezon, uneia dintre marile artiste ale acestei planete, pianistei Hiromi Uehara. Good evening!
Good evening.
Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. This is
my
a dream come
pleasure.
true. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hiromi, last night I've been one of the witnesses of an extraordinary concert where I heard Johannes Brahms, Dream Theater, Oscar Peterson, Frank Zappa, Martha Argerich, and you name it, everybody all together, like in no other possible situation. I've been following your career since the beginning, and you still don't perceive music by genre, do you?
No,
Why not?
because I believe that there are only two genres, the music which moves me and music which doesn't. And I just play the music which moves me, and hopefully it moves others too. And I don't really, when you listen to music, I listen to music with my heart, not with brain. So, and actually that's the thing that I learned from my first piano teacher. She told me the music should be, it's played by hands and it's go through the years, but it should always be played from heart to heart.
Let's go back to a moment of your life, and that moment was called Ahmad Jamal. I'm very interested in the mechanisms and the intimacy of this professional partnership. How was that?
Well, he just kind of opened my career, the door to the career. And even though he's like huge icon, he always encourages me and very supportive, full of smiles, and just being around him has been just amazing, I mean, of course as a musician, but at the same time as a human being too. He's just such a full of joy. And of course with his music, when I see him in live or his album, I can learn so much. But I can learn so much just being around him,
Hiromi, if you would have to concentrate in a nutshell, what did you learn from Ahmad Jamal?
Always look forward. He's never satisfied with himself. Always very excited about his future. And there is one saying that he told me that I really love, is that I think some interviewer asked him, which one is your favorite album? And he said, the next one. And that's how I want to be.
Since we are in the past, let's think of another moment from your life, and that moment was called Chick Korea. How was that moment, from this particular point of view, that type of professional intimacy and cooperation?
I met Chick in really early age.
Yes.
I was 17. So, I mean, I was, of course, studying music and playing music, but I haven't really, I mean, I was still in the process of finding my voice and, learning all these vocabularies, right? And suddenly I sit next to him and see all these like magic fingers at the best possible seat. I'm just looking at it right here. And that experience was like walking through the gigantic library. Like it's effortless, like it's never stopped to flow. It's like so fluent in what he wants to speak about, and always with full of emotions. And I was just so inspired by that, and that really made me want to go further.
If I'm correct, Michael Ferguson told you at the beginning of your career that the life of a musician is a tough one. Was he right?
Yes. Definitely, yes. But when he told me, I didn't realize which part was tough.
Which part is tough?
Well, I think musicians are not get paid to play because it's a fun part. We're getting paid to travel and go through all these crazy airports, canceled flights, delayed trains. And sometimes, like this time when I came here, because of this continuous cancellation of flights, I had to take a car from Vienna to here. And because of the huge traffic, it took like 9.5 hours. And all these things, it's tough. And also like sleep in different places every day, and you have to kind of get comfortable in it so that you can be really prepared for your set. And because none of these things should affect the beauty of music,
We'll get there. We will get there, I promise.
Because once I'm on the stage, then audience shouldn't know how hard I traveled today, or how what a rough night, or anything.
They expect you to be brilliant. And,
yeah, so I just stand on the stage as if nothing happened and just play. And to be in that, state of mind every day, in spite of this craziness on traveling, that's, I think, the tough.
Hiromi, in terms of toughness, do you have to fight in any way in order to be visible, in order to be known, in order to make people aware that you exist as a musician? Do you have to fight in any way?
You mean in a performing point of view?
No, I mean in terms of business. Do you have to fight to make yourself visible? Do you have to make efforts apart from your music?
Well, for example, my hair. I mean, honestly, nobody really recognizes me when I'm walking on the street, when I, don't have my stage hair.
Yep.
I started doing that when I was in school in Berkeley, in Boston, in '99. Because I played a show, and next day, so many Japanese friends, pianists of mine, were getting compliments from people that you sounded great yesterday. And they were saying, no, it wasn't me, it was my friend. And I realized, wow, the Asian people really look the same for, the people who lives abroad. Maybe not all of them, but, mostly. So I have to kind of find a way that everybody can easily recognize that's Hiromi. And I came up with this stage hair, Who
does your stage hair?
Me. Yeah, I'm pro now, after 20 years.
How do you match art and business? I mean, the sublime universe of music that you were talking about a few minutes ago, and the mechanisms of the entertainment industry. How do you match these two?
Well, I mean, you have people who's working for you, you know, for the business part.
Yep.
And you just have to be, only thing I really have to be responsible is just being on the stage in, you know, just good condition and just play, you know, play the best that as you can, you know. And I think that's the responsibility that artist has, just be really ready for it. And I think when you give everything you have, then the rest can be done by, I think, the management people, you know.
You have some years of career. Didn't you get exhausted of giving everything each time on the stage?
Never.
How is this possible?
I don't know. I love it. You know, I mean, during the pandemic, it was harder to not have the place to release all these energy that I have. And I always feel so home and feel so alive on stage. And, well, I mean, when I play, of course, it's physically tiring, of course, but at the same time, I'm psychologically fulfilled. So I don't feel the tiredness anymore because of this psychological, emotional, you know, energy that I get from people, like from the live performance. So I always enjoy, like from the very first concert of my career, I never had like even one show that I felt like I don't want to play today. I want to play. I'm so excited to play again. Every show, I'm like that.
Let's get back again into your history. Let's imagine we're in Boston. We're at the Berklee College of Music. There's so many musicians, so many extraordinary musicians. Sometimes this situation might be discouraging. How was it with you?
Well, the first time I went there, still remember, I mean, it's not only Berklee. Like on the street that the Berklee exists, there is New England Conservatory, Boston Conservatory. So basically on this avenue called Mass Ave, everybody like either carrying an instrument or every single one that you bump into are musicians. And I was just fascinated that, you know, I knew that there were like musicians as much as a number of stars. But wow, it's true. I've never seen that many musicians. And I don't know, I was kind of really excited to be able to meet so many fantastic musicians from all over the world and who kind of have the same will, and because they really wanted to, you know, meet musicians and play, you know, something that they never experienced before.
So it was not discouraging for you. It was encouraging.
It was encouraging. Yeah, it was very encouraging, yes. And I did meet musicians from all over the world that, you know, I've never been to. And, you know, I still go, you know, to different countries and I get to meet them, you know, when they're there, so.
So there was no person inside you to tell you at a certain moment, which is my place in this world? There are so many musicians. What do I have to do? Was this question with you at that moment?
Never. You know, I think it's something probably a lot to do with how my mother raised me. She never compared me to anybody. So in any subject, not only music, you know, like even if like I don't run like that fast, she never compared, you know, me to anybody. So I loved running. So I didn't even realize that I don't run that fast. She was always encouraging me, you love running, that's great. You know, like same for swimming, you know, so for so many subjects, you know, and some, of course, some subjects that I'm not really good at, but again, I didn't compare because she never did. And I think that's a lot to do, you know, She's just really always supportive about what I really love doing, and so, you know, so she never really used, like, for example, like if I win a competition, for example, in local, you know, like really small local competition, like in piano, she never even used the word that you're the best of the competition, even if I won. You played great. That's how she would say. So I didn't even think that even though I got the first prize, I didn't really think of myself that I got the first prize.
So you were not thinking at the fact that you were the best?
Never. I just thought I played like great, and there were audience who loved it. And that's why I still feel like whenever I perform, I'm like in the journey of finding the people who can mutually love the same thing, and never really thought about this like a first best audience kind of thing. And I think that's a lot to do with how my mother raised me.
This is a very serene way of thinking. This is a very serene way of perceiving the world. But the world is not necessarily each day like this. The world is very difficult sometimes. How do you manage to stay serene?
I don't know. I think, I mean, being a pianist, being a musician, to me, the most important thing is being disciplined for what I really want to achieve in my life as a musician. And for example, like to achieve what I want to achieve, I have to practice every day, no matter where I'm at. And, you know, I want to keep writing, and also, you know, to keep good health condition, you know, I should eat well, balanced food, like all these kind of thing comes to one. And that comes with a discipline. And it requires continuous, you know, discipline.
Do you find any pleasure in discipline?
Yes. Yeah, I just, when I see, like in the longer view, because like my ultimate dream is like, I want to keep my music, I want to keep playing my music all my life. Like when I'm like in 90 years old, I want to keep playing my music. And to achieve that, I have to be disciplined, and I enjoy that. I don't know, I just love every day I'm a step ahead. And there's no like, I don't lucky, like a jumping bounce anywhere. Like I just have to be like every day, step by step, just like climbing mountains. And you can only like see the landscape when you go to the certain height, you know, of the mountain. And I just enjoy each moment, and I know that, and luckily I've experienced that, so that kind of makes me keep going.
Hiromi, let's stay in this idea for one more minute. My following question is rather a metaphor than a question per se. But years ago in Boston, there was a very young student called Hiromi Uehara. She liked madly something called Cape Cod potato chips. Is that Hiromi Uehara still with you now?
Yes. Yes, of course. It's always, yeah, it's part of me.
Because now you're famous? Because now lots of people know you? Lots of people admire you? Is she still with you?
You know, it's true that it's amazing to come to the town that you've never been before, and people know you. But how can I say? There is like what I really love about being a professional pianist is there is always a challenge. Like, for example, when I was a student, just graduated from Berkeley, nobody knows me. And I started playing a couple of festivals, little concerts. And I, play, I give everything. And people love the show, and, I feel like, the energy communication, and then they come to the next show that I do in the city again, and, the audience kind of starts growing. And there's a challenge in that sense when I'm like starting my career. But now, people have same, when people knows me, that's a different kind of challenge. Because people have certain kind of expectation.
Yes.
I've seen her in videos. I've seen her, I've listened to her in CDs. She should be giving me this kind of experience.
Yes.
And that's why I'm like, okay, I give it to you, I'm gonna do my best, and I give everything out. And when it happens, you kind of have to go beyond people's expectation to really satisfy them, and that's kind of a challenge. And I always enjoy that challenge. That's why I love just giving everything I have, because I don't know, it's not only music probably. Like, challenging is just the beauty of life. No?
Normally, I should have asked you something different now, but I will stay with you in this type of idea. Have you ever thought about the fact that, and I do have to confess, this is something very personal. I was thinking about this, if you were thinking about this. So, have you ever thought about the fact that your impeccable, sometimes fabulous, unbelievable technique might put into a sort of shadow the extraordinary music that you do? Have you ever thought about that?
I never. Okay.
People pay attention to your technique and to your dynamics, and they forget about your music. Have you ever thought about that?
The funny thing is, I never thought about it myself, but I've, when I get the interviews, when I read things like, the critics, and I read these kind of things, then some things are positive, some things are negative. And that's when I realized, what you just said. Then actually, whenever I read that kind of thing, that is actually a good opportunity to make me rethink again, do I have to play these notes? And when the answer is yes, then that's who I am. Some people talk more, some people talk less. Yeah. And you cannot be loved by everyone. And I just have to be true to myself. But it's always good, like when somebody asks me that kind of question, then that's a good question. Let me think, do I really have to play the notes that I played, like in that bar, the very bar? If I play like this really, because the string player that played with yesterday told me that you played this like a 1 minute of non-stop lines yesterday, and that was amazing. That's what he told me. And I just felt like, the music kind of took me there, so I played it naturally. But now you telling me that, and it's good to think, like, did I really need to play that? And answer is yes, because it wasn't coming from my right brain. It really came from my heart, and music was just purely bringing me there. So when I'm like, when I'm asked a question, it's always good to, and because I want to be, I want to be better musician. I want to be, I want to learn. I want to keep learning and, how to really express what I really want to express. And it's not like everything I play, it's never like it's perfect. It's like maybe there's something could be better. You never know, But I always like to, rethink about it. And was that really necessary? And if the answer is yes, then that's good, And technique is, it's easy topic to talk about. So I see, like, for example, when I'm a huge fan of Oscar Peterson. And I read so many articles about his fascinating techniques. And his techniques is like really ridiculous. Wow, yes. But his swing is another like crazy thing. Because I still remember when I was 8 and listened to his recording, not knowing any piece of jazz music. My body was bouncing like this. And he taught me what the swing is about without words. But nobody really talks about it, just because he has this fascinating technique.
That was my question about.
Yeah, but it's Oscar. That's how he felt natural about himself. And, some people loved it, some people maybe didn't, but it's okay. I feel the same. I'm just doing what I really feel naturally about.
At a certain moment in your life, in your process of becoming, in your career, did you put forward your technique as a way of marketing, as a way of promoting yourself? Have you ever done that?
Never. Never. And not only for technique, I never forced anything, I always wanted to be just naturally myself. For example, I never really try to, I don't know if it's like promote, I'm not sure if it's the right word, but I'm like naturally woman, naturally Asian, naturally Japanese. And I never try to kind of push that elements, like promote that elements, look, because I'm just naturally who I am. And I didn't really need that of forcing, myself, like forcing that elements to really push forward. So, like, for example, when I meet people, just like I just did, when I, greet to you, I bow. But I bow not because, hey, look, I'm Japanese. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just naturally who I am, and I just naturally bow. And just like that...
It's my instinct to answer.
Just like that, I think in music, my Japaneseness should be there. Like who I am should be naturally there. And that's same for technique. It's just how I play, how I speak in music. And so I never try to force that, And some songs probably needed little more techniques, like than the other song. Like when I play like a slow ballad, then it's like less, you know.
Yep.
So it really depends on the songs.
You mentioned this during our conversation, but I will get back now a little bit to your way of composing music. And do you still do it every day? Like a diary, like a journal?
Yes, I do.
Even now?
Yes.
How is this possible?
But it's not like I'm writing a masterpiece every day. It's like, la, 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 you know, just like you sing a song, you know. I mean, not these days because of the technology. I sometimes just play and record on my phone, you know, or, you know, I write, like I used to like write on the back of the receipt in the old days, you know. But I just like, you know, to kind of keep in the journal, you know. And sometimes it's longer than the other day. Sometimes it's, you know, 2 to 4 bars, but I enjoy that.
When it comes about classical music, you are still so close to it. You maintain a constant connection with classical music. Is this classical music still working as a ground for you?
For me, classical music is one of the greatest way to learn how to compose. Because classical composers really knows how to use the instrument fully. So I always can learn so much from, you know, the classical composers, how to use this instrument, for example, the piano to the max. So, I mean, for pleasure, I love playing classical music.
Let's say you are in the very heart of your musical dynamics. What happens to you when you are in open space, a jazz festival? Maybe not quite everybody is listening to what you're playing. People talking loudly, kids yelling, car horns cutting through your music like a knife, and even fireworks from a nearby celebration. How do you manage to stay focused?
The fireworks, it just came at the very wrong moment yesterday, unfortunately, in the most, you know, in the ballad. So there was nothing that we could do about it. But like, for example, like when I played in Belgium, like in April, there was, when I was soloing, the ambulance came.
Yep.
Ooh, and I could feel that people were really into the music, but because of the ambulance sound, they got disturbed. So I played with the siren. Ooh, and they loved it. And I just tried to convert it to, I mean, the musical pleasure as much as I can. Because if it can be just the noise, which is disturbing, or it can be part of the improvisation. And it's life, it happens, you know.
But you cannot do that with the fireworks.
Actually, I did in Mexico. And I'm telling you,
But it's important when it happens.
Yes, it's very important. It's just, in Mexico, it happened in a right place that I was kind of playing the kind of, you know, solo piece, and it happened. So I was playing with the fireworks, and people just loved it and really laughed about it. And we had so much, you know, it was so much fun. But, and some other time, I think it was somewhere in the States, you know, I was playing this theater, and the fire alarm goes on. Like really loud. So I started to groove over, do, and people love it. I mean, it's the best if I can just focus on the music. But when these things happens, you can either get disturbed and annoyed and, you know, kind of confront it.
It takes you from the track.
Yeah, or you can accept it and just be friend with these, you know, I don't know, unexpected things. It's life.
How will you define this universe which is called piano?
Piano is like a full orchestra to me. You have everything in it. It's, you can be drums, you can be bass. Of course, it's piano, but you can be melodic instrument, percussive instrument. It has all. That's why it's hard to play. I'm still learning.
How did you get to this fantastic The Silver Lining Suite, which is a fantastic album? How did you arrive to this musical formula, the piano quintet? What's the history of this?
Well, that was in March 2020.
Mm-hmm.
My whole tour got canceled and I had to stay home. I had nothing to do apart from practicing in the writing music, that I could do in music. And actually, I was in Japan where my family was that time. And there is a club called Blue Note Tokyo in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the musicians who play there are coming from abroad. They're touring musicians. But of course, everything got canceled because there was no, flights. And in Japan, it never really stopped. The shows didn't really stop.
Really?
No. I mean, sometimes like in few weeks it stopped, but never like that long. And we could stay open like with 40% capacity as long as you have, good distance.
Yeah.
So, but when you have a club, like let's say 300 people club, then if you have 40%, it's, you can only get like 140 people.
Right.
And they had so many cancellations, they couldn't stay open. And I was really close to the, people who worked there. So I said, okay, let me play all the shows which was canceled because I'm here. So I did about more than 100 shows there during pandemic.
Oh, this is a lot.
Yeah, and because, I knew the club had to stay open to survive, and nobody could travel there. So I started this live music series called Save Live Music. And
Mm-hmm.
so I told them, but we can only open with 40% capacity. So then let's do double number of shows. That's as simple. So I think first shows I did, 16 days, 2 shows a day. So like 32 shows solo, continuously. I've always loved, string quartet, the sound, and I listen to a lot of the classical format piano quintet, and also I love this album with Gary Burton, Chicoria, the lyrics read.
Yep.
Beautiful album. So I always wanted to do something with string quartet, and maybe that would be good. So I went to Blue Note Tokyo, like when they were closed, like for a day. And can I just try to put like 4 seats on the stage, like on side of the piano? I just want to kind of see, like I want to be inspired by the landscape. Like I put 4 seats, and then I was just looking at empty 4 seats in the piano. And I started hearing music.
Do you still go out with friends having a drink like anybody else?
What do you mean?
I mean, do you still go out as a normal person with your friends having a drink?
Of course. Of course. I love that.
Hiromi, it's been a privilege to have you as a guest in our show.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything that you do. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ne vedem data viitoare. Să aveți o seară frumoasă.